You were at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Kuiper, who says, were you ever a part of live journal culture? If so, I would like to hear you rant about it. Otherwise, rant about video game releases getting delayed. Either your thoughts on games getting delayed in general, or the very recent thing where it seems like a ton of games that were supposed to come out this year are now getting pushed into Q1 2020. I have not heard anything about that specifically. As for LiveJournal, I was never involved in the culture. I remember when it came out, nobody who I knew had one, so I was never like pushed onto the site. I did eventually make one once I found out about it. Maybe made like 3 posts. I don't even remember what name I was under, and then I lost interest because I was already a part of like message boards, and I didn't understand how to get people to read your live journal, you know. So, and it was already kind of on the way out. I think it was like mid 2000s. So no, but as for video game releases getting delayed, I mean, I want to believe that that's a good thing because like these days so many games are coming out just like unreleased, buggy as fuck, day one patches or delayed patches. The games just are not complete when they release, and it's a huge problem. And some games have had these catastrophic long-term failures like Fallout 76, where it's like, games are so fucking expensive that I mean, it's clear. I've been watching like a lot of Matt McMuscles. He has this series on like he has a series called What Happened, where he talks about games that were huge flops and what led that to happen. And he also has a series called Gone Too Soon, where he talks about studios that have gotten shut down. There's a lot of overlap between these stories, but like overall, the problem is that publishers want a certain thing on a certain date, and they want the developers to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And sometimes it's possible to make that happen, but not in a form where it is going to be acceptable to consumers. And so, this pressure maintains on the studio to do what the publisher wants them to do. They do that to the best of their ability, and then the game flops because it's a piece of shit, and then the studio gets shut down because they were, just had way too much expectation placed on them to deliver something that didn't have time to have the amount of thought put into it to realize the demands that were being made, which probably contradicted what they actually thought was the best way to develop their own game. So, I would love to believe that video games being increasingly delayed means that more of them are actually having the time put into them to have the issues resolved. Nintendo's been pushing back a lot of games recently, and their games still come out pretty fucking buggy. But they make good games, lately. Like the Switch has a lot of good Nintendo games. I mean, Pokemon is obviously very unpolished. Probably should have been pushed back, and I think they just relentlessly were like, no, this is when Pokemon releases. Like, it has to be the way. I mean, it's basically a classic example, and like the fact that it got extremely high scores, from critics and everything, in spite of that, just I don't know. I don't know if it's just that they don't care about the same things that other people cared about. I don't know what the overall opinion of the game even is. I don't know if it's overall more positive or negative, but like it's clearly a rushed and unfinished in many ways game that is indicative of the problems of, it has to come out on the 3-year Pokemon cycle for the new console at whatever cost. And I would love it if more games were delayed instead of that happening.